Look in the lab, people in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the 18th episode of the PS Premier podcast. I'm your host, James Smith, and today I'm joined by Dory.
Hello. Hi. I'm Dory. I go by she, her pronouns. You can find me on Twitter at declare192.
And Mitchell.
Hello, I am Mitchell. Yeah, where can you find me? Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Mitch1012.
Great. Hey Mitch, what have you been
Yes.
playing lately? Playing anything interesting? Anything good?
I've been playing a few things. When I've had my off time at work, I think the main games I've been getting into the past little while are Destiny 2, which I do have some thoughts on, as well as Bloodborne and some more Spider-Man Miles Morales, just trying to get to that platinum.
Would you play? When did you start Bloodborne?
Oh, I mean, that's an interesting question. You can ask when I started Bloodborne,
Yeah.
and then you can ask when I started Bloodborne again, then you can ask when I started Bloodborne for the third time.
Yes,
the most recent time.
I'm familiar with that cycle. Yeah.
Yes.
When did you start Bloodborne again?
Probably a couple months ago. I'm currently mostly just making my way through it, fairly like in my own pace. It's I really enjoy it. I don't think I can ever be like a hardcore Soulsborne fan, but for what it is, I absolutely love the experience. It's just a matter of actually figuring out where to go next, which is the hard part. But it is satisfying when you actually do get to that next boss encounter, or finally manage to unlock that gate you've been looking at for the past 5 hours. So
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm not looking forward to see my playtime on the PS5 though.
Have you played Sekiro? Have you tried that one?
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
Yet, but I definitely intend to.
I think I'm in the same boat as you, where I'm not a big Soulsborne fan. I played Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, and I sort of bounced off them. But I played Sekiro. I'm almost finished. I'm like that one. I really stuck with that one because it's very different because of the traversal and stuff. It feels a lot less punishing. And I think that was my problem with the other ones, was that it just was so, you die and then you'd have this long walk back to the boss, and
The walk of shame.
Yep.
Yeah, which is also something I thought the quick load times in Demon Souls would help with that, but I've gotten to the second boss now, and oh boy, I don't know if I'm gonna get past that, because there's a brutal return from the respawn point.
You just gotta grind them souls, James. You gotta get those numbers up.
You gotta get good. You gotta get good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been playing, Dory?
I hurt my ankle earlier this week, so I have not been in a gaming mood.
I love that game.
Yes,
that one's fun.
The fun game of the human body, everybody. No, I played a bunch of Hades during Thanksgiving. I was watching the Mystery Science Theater 3000 marathon, so I decided to play like 2 hours of Hades. I got some like hidden, some stuff for weapons that's really cool. And I got a couple plot developments here and there, and I got a couple wins, a couple losses. That was really fun. I platinumed Miles Morales recently. That was the last game I played before Hades. It's my first ever platinum. I've never platinumed a game before. If I can platinum it, I think anybody can, because I don't really care for platinuming games. But I'm also very, hot on that game. I'm very, I love that game quite a lot, as my review showed. So maybe that it's my enthusiasm, but I honestly think besides the new game plus requirement, it's a pretty easy plat. All things considered, there's a couple of challenging ones, but there are workarounds.
I've actually been making my way closer to the platinum on that myself. I'm on New Game Plus just now. All I need to do is finish New Game Plus and do the photo mode trophy, which is the one I'm leaving till last, so I can get that platinum screenshot with a nice photo in the background.
Nice.
But it is quite. I think it's a little more difficult than the Spider-Man trophy, maybe. But I do appreciate that it's not just a collectathon, go and get all the abilities or whatever. Like there are ones where like unlock all skills and stuff like that, but there's a lot of ones where it's like achieve a 100 plus combo, which despite being a little difficult, was quite fun to go and figure that one out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty fun platinum. So I'm looking forward to getting that. The only thing is like having to do the New Game Plus and play through it again.
Yeah, and there's just too
which I
many
guess you could
cutscenes
leave,
that
but-
you can't skip for no good reason.
Oh,
and you'll
God.
and you'll have
Tell me about it.
you'll have a cutscene that you can skip, but then you'll go into another cutscene right after, and you can't skip it. And there's just no logic to any of it.
Maybe it's just because I gave up trying, but I haven't actually encountered any cutscenes that I could skip. I've just been sort of like because I've been like listening to. I turned the game music off, and I've just been listening to my Spotify playlist while like
that's
grind
fair.
through the story.
Yeah.
But,
I get into like instant speedrunner mode. I immediately pause and I just mash on the X to look for the directional pad and the X, so I can skip it if I can. But oftentimes you can't, and I don't understand why, because you could do it all the time in Spider-Man 2018. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Unskippable cutscenes are the death of video games.
Yeah. Just ask
Like,
anyone
I
who
mean,
loved Kingdom Hearts
nothing
1 as a
else.
kid.
Nothing else.
It might be something because usually I don't mind, but I think this is the first time I've had to play through a campaign in its entirety just for a trophy.
Yeah.
So that is
Wow.
probably why.
And I
'cause
mean,
normally I'll play games for the cutscenes.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, it's already a short game, and if you're skipping the side content and all of the skippable cutscenes, you can beat it easily in like 4 hours casually, like without even knowing speedrunning tricks, which I didn't. But I probably beat it in around 4 to 5 hours.
I mean, weirdly enough for me, I had no problem replaying the original Spider-Man like at least 5+ times. I didn't like beat it to campaign completion every time, but I've probably at least had a decent 12 or 15 saves just with different suits on for the opening mission and such, just because I really love that the opening few hours of that game. So I think with the original game, I would have had no problem having a trophy that dictated it on New Game Plus difficulty, which it did. It just wasn't recommended for the platinum. But I don't know. I just think with Miles, it's a shorter story. Even though it's a shorter story, I don't think it's, at least for me, it's a good enough sort of substitute or requirement to get that platinum. I still will eventually, but it's not like, oh, I'm gonna go and get that platinum straight away. Like I'm taking my time with it.
Yeah, I mean, like I originally wasn't going to go for the platinum either, but then I saw that photo mode trophy and I thought, oh, I can get a nice, cool platinum photo for my for my first platinum on
most
PS5.
James
So that's
thing of
the
all
only
time.
reason.
Yeah.
I do want to say.
But yeah, I can't.
Oh, I did want to say that. Crap. What was I gonna say? Oh, Miles. The ultimate difficulty is actually pretty fair and balanced. That's kind of a cursed phrasing. But it is actually a decent difficulty mode if you're gonna do New Game Plus, because I think Miles at that point is just so stacked with abilities and health and ways to counter big time damage from ranged and melee attacks that I think with the right mods, you're honestly probably pretty good. I still only died probably less than 10 times in my playthrough, and it was mostly to bosses. So I think I think if you're gonna do New Game Plus, I'd recommend it on Ultimate for the challenge, because really there's not much else bringing you back.
I started my New Game Plus run on Ultimate as well, and surprisingly enough, I died to like the opening Rhino battle like at least 5 times.
Wow, really?
Like that thing is, yeah. I just think I didn't get the count, like the dodging and stuff down right, because I thought that I like if he goes in for an attack, I can quickly punch him for a quick couple.
Yeah,
of,
the Rhino fight was
combo meter and then dead.
Going through that fight on New Game Plus though is a lot of fun, because you've already got all your powers and stuff, so you can just absolutely mince him. Just
it's great.
I
Venom punched, and then I was able to punch him a bunch. And I still had one Venom punch stored, so I built up to a second one, and then I just did it 2 more times in a row, and he was just done. And it was like a 10-second fight. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. As for me, I've been playing Bug Snacks. Actually, I've also been playing Spider-Man Remastered, which I'll talk about because we've just been talking about Miles. It's what's interesting about the Spider-Man Remaster is, and maybe it's just because of the story missions and the set pieces and everything. Um, but I actually think even though the photo mode is the exact same as the one in Miles, it almost feels better because I don't know. It feels like I was able to take better photos with the photo mode in Spider-Man Remastered
Could it just
than I
be
did.
that like the
So Dory's pulling out a Nintendo Switch while I talk about photo mode.
Oh no! Sorry, I was plugging in my
I'm not going. I
computer.
promise I'm not gonna. Yeah, I promise I'm not gonna go on a photo mode tangent.
Sorry, no. I was plugging in my computer because my Switch was plugged in. So I was unplugging that, plugging my computer in because I want it to be charged. So I don't want it to suddenly blank out and OBS goes away. So I was just checking my Switch's battery. Feel free to talk about photo mode.
That is okay. That's all I got, Mitch.
Okay.
What are you gonna say?
Yeah, no worries, we can edit that one out. I think like would you say it's the nostalgia of like the original game's original photo mode, and then like suddenly having that giant upgrade, like sort of that speaks to you and was like, wow, this is so much better than what it is before. So therefore, the
Yeah,
opportunities are endless.
it could be. Maybe it could also be the fact that I like the suits more.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you bring up a good point there. I don't think I've heard many people talk about the suit selection in Miles Morales because, like, I mean, tough story. Because I think even though, like, well, the original game did have some downright bad ones that I would never even consider using. Like, all of Miles' suits are pretty good.
Yeah.
Except I probably only use about 3 or 4 of them because they're easily the best ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there are
And I
some
can't see
great.
myself changing.
There's some
Yeah.
great suits in Miles Morales, but there's more good ones in Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think how this breaks down
Absolutely.
is pretty much how y'all say. Like, Miles Morales has a lot of great suits, and Spider-Man 2018 has a few stinkers. But when it's really good, it's really really good, and it's probably better than Miles. But
Yeah.
I do have to say my
Yeah.
favorite suit is still probably the Spider-Verse suit. So.
Not the cat one.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I do love the cat suit too.
Everyone loves the cat
Is
suit.
it-
Come on.
That's right.
Is it weird that my favorite suit in Miles Morales is probably the university suit?
Yeah,
like the
that's weird.
brace
You need help.
jacket and
Go get
That is
help.
that is pretty
Mitch,
weird.
come
I'll
on.
be honest.
Come on.
I love that suit. What are you on about? Why
Wait, are
is
you
it
talking about the one with the
right?
bag?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the
Yeah,
one
the
you get a
one
new
with the
game
bag.
plus, right? I mean, we're mild spoilers
no,
here.
no.
Oh, no.
The one with like the headphone.
He's got the one with the blazer and the bag, and
University
I think
brace.
I barely passed over that. I think I looked at it once.
that's a pretty good suit. I'll be honest, but it's not. You
It's not
can't.
even
You can't be
suit,
the
yeah.
cat.
Yeah,
can't beat the
you
cat.
really can't beat the cat, Mitch.
But anyway, yeah.
The cat only had one takedown animation. That's kind of
It's that, and that is one more than the university suit.
And
There
that's
you
also
go.
that's also one more than
Okay,
really.
I
It was
can
really
see.
fun because I watched some a few nights ago. I watched some Game Informer interviews with the folks in Insomniac, which are really good, by the way. I recommend them. If I remember, maybe I'll put them in the description or something. But yeah, they were talking about it, and they were like, yeah, it was just as simple as like kind of like one-upsmanship. Like someone was like, "Oh, we should have a suit that has the cat in it," and another person pipes up, "Oh, they should have a takedown. They should have a custom animation for a takedown." And so they're talking about they're talking about that kind of culture within Insomniac of like people just
Yeah.
kind of get ideas from various places and they just put them together and they just try to one up each other. So
Yeah, that's fun. But yeah, I've also been playing Bug Snacks, which we've got some great videos that Marvel did with Jesse Vitelli and Grayson Morales on the channel the other week. There's an episode of gameplay reel and a spoiler cast. They're really good. But yeah, I've been playing Bug Snacks. It's really strange. It's a fun game. It doesn't feel like a next gen game. It's an indie game, sure, but it's probably around that 7 to 8 out of 10 realm for me.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot to talk about with the ending. which is why I'm looking forward to finally getting to watch that spoiler cast that Marvel did. Because like there's a surprising amount there for a game that small. It gets
I
really
think
weird.
I was going to say, like, I saw a couple of the comments on the spoiler cast, and I think I've got a vague idea of like what goes down, but at the same time,
Same.
it's like there's more to it. Like
Yeah.
I think, and
I'm very morbidly curious because
Yeah.
I'm never gonna play Bug Snacks, but I'm very morbidly curious what the ending is, just because it's so talked about, which is very surprising. So,
Why would you
I'm-
not play Bugsnax?
is it for the PS4? It's for the PS4 as well.
It's on the PS4.
Oh,
yeah.
it's
okay.
for the PS4.
I just
But
don't
you
have any
could claim
interest.
it. Okay,
Yeah.
you could claim it for free and then get it when you get a PS5. But
That's true.
I digress. But yeah, no, it's definitely. I even have some theories of my own about the ending. It definitely feels like there's more there than the game lets on. So yeah,
So
it gets.
it's got some Soulsborne-esque lore, as in you've got really obscure characters that say completely nothing, and then suddenly people get a half an hour video out of explaining what they're.
I don't know if I'd call it. I feel like there are maybe some plot points that are misleading.
Yeah.
In order, like they seem clear cut, but also you could get other interpretations out of them. If you know what I mean, like that sort of that sort of thing that indie games do very well generally.
Yeah. Without spoiling it, would you say like the I guess you could say hidden terrors of Bug Snacks are like comparable to like the first Willy Wonka movie, where like because you've heard the many theories about how Willy Wonka's actually murdering and harvesting all these poor children.
I'd say
would you
sure.
it's comparable to that, or?
I'd say it's in that realm. Yeah.
Wow.
I assume you're talking about like the whole speculation before the game came out about there's something it's actually a horror game or something like that.
Yeah, something because I've heard like it gets like not messed up, but it's like it explores some dark territory, like especially for a kids game.
Yeah.
Really.
It's actually.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't call it a kids game.
It actually
Yeah.
reveals the new Silent Hills game that's going to be remade. So
That's right. That's right. Hideo Kojima comes out as a
Bug Snacks.
a Grumpus, and
Grumpus,
he just says,
nice.
"Hey, here's Silent Hill."
If I
Yeah. But yeah, that's I really enjoyed it. I thought it was. I don't know if it'll make my top 10, but it was a fun game. But yeah, Mitch, you've been playing the new Destiny 2 expansion, Beyond Light, correct?
I have, and I do not think it's a 7 or 8 out of 10 experience, honestly.
What would you give it? How much have you played?
I've played, I mean, of the actual expansion content, probably about 5 to 6 hours, and then the rest has really just been taken up by like grinding for materials in Gambit and strikes, really. Now, and I would say before I start, I'm not like a hardcore Destiny player at all. Like, I've probably only gotten into it again within the last month or two. And I haven't played through any of the other expansions, but I have started the first level of the Forsaken expansion. And the first level of that expansion was infinitely better than any of the missions I played in Beyond Light.
Yeah.
I think it's weird. So, like, the whole pre-release buzz, at least from what I saw with Beyond Light, was that they're bolting all this stuff, like something around 50% of the game at that point, and then they're going to come in with a bunch of new stuff, and it's going to be like a complete revamp of Destiny 2, and it's going to be completely stripped. No, it's literally just the same Destiny, but you have less of it, and the slight reworks they've done to certain modes and systems paired with the new expansion, which is an insane price for how much they're offering you, is probably not worth it. Like, I got it with Game Pass, and thank God I did, because I would have probably felt a bit ripped off if I had paid the full price for this expansion. I'm not saying it's bad, but the main main story campaign itself probably lasted me about 3 to 4 hours,
Yeah.
and about half of that time was just basically like the structure of the campaign is really just okay. You do like a linear, story mission, and then okay, you talk to someone. They give you like a fetch quest to do, like collect however many enemies or kill this many, enemy captains, basically. And then you do that quest out in the open world, and then they say, okay, now come back to me, and they'll do another story mission. And then every few story missions, you talk to the this stranger character, and then you'd unlock a new ability for the stasis subclass, but you wouldn't actually have access to it until the very end of the campaign,
Yeah.
which is like it's a pretty tiring formula, and the story itself probably isn't very good. It's basically, I mean, I'm not all too caught up on Destiny lore, but the main gist of it I got was, okay, so all these planets have disappeared. Now we're going to Europa, this moon, and we've met up with this. So we've met up with this fallen Captain Aramis, who's basically deflected or fled from the main fallen sect. Basically, she's like a renegade. She doesn't agree with any of their religious beliefs at all, and she is really, because apparently the fallen. I'm probably butchering Destiny a little bit. So apparently the fallen is this like machine. I think it's the Vex, and she's like, well, "Why are you praising this machine? It's done nothing for you. Why don't you just rely on yourself?" And like, I mean, I think basically the Aramis character, which is the main villain of the story, she's definitely got an interesting motivation to her, and she's probably the best part of this story. But they don't really go anywhere with her character at all. She's basically just reduced to spouting a couple of, a few lines of dialogue about, oh, you're so feeble. Why do you keep praising this machine? And then nothing really happens with the character. There's no development. There's no. It's just this is what I think.
Right. Yeah, because I played Shadowkeep, the last DLC, and I dropped off the campaign very quickly. I think that was also sort of widely panned, but I think maybe it's just because I'm not a Destiny player, but I feel like the main reason people buy the expansions for Destiny is because, or maybe for any MMO, is because they sort of hold the game hostage and say if you don't buy the latest expansion and don't keep up to date with the game, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly because I remember, at least when they were with Division, it was a paid game. If you didn't buy the latest expansion, probably about a decent half of the game's content was completely locked off to you. And that's not even including the little season passes they have and all the extra microtransactions they have for cosmetics and whatnot. Like I think I'm glad it's on Game Pass, as I said before, because I think the value you get with the game there is probably what this expansion is worth. Like I can't. I mean, unless you're like a hardcore Destiny player who like would spend dozens and hundreds of hours with this game alone just for the raid, then yeah, absolutely, it's probably worth it to you. But I think to people who are trying to get onto Destiny for the first time, I think Beyond Light is, unless you have Game Pass, Beyond Light is probably not the place for you to start.
And so it's not like the big thing that they were hyping up to be.
How much? So how much is this DLC normally versus how much is Game Pass? Game Pass is like $10, $12.
Game Pass is like $10, $12. I mean, 15 if you want to get Game Pass Ultimate. But I'm pretty sure the expansion's like $40 US.
Whoa.
And that's so it's a lot. I think not only the fact that they've vaulted about a good like at least a decent 40%, if not a complete half of the content from before, but also the fact that like I think a lot of the hype behind this DLC was that this dark threat is finally arriving that we've been teasing arguably since the first Destiny. And like they were being teased all of this last season with oh, they're coming soon, and you've got their big,
This is the big Dorito ships, right?
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
the big Dorito ships. They were looming all over the map, everything. And
Quick,
then
Mitch, are they
really,
ranch
just
flavored?
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah. Um. So where was I?
We were talking about the Dorito ranch chips, and you said that you weren't
Yeah.
sure, and then you said something.
I think pure evil probably only comes in the form of tangy cheese.
But, the darkness of Fantase is a threat for however many years, and then as soon as they arrive in this big expansion where they finally make their arrival, all they do is just stand there menacingly on the map and give you the subclass. There's not really anything interesting done with them. All they do is just give you a new subclass to play around with.
Right.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, the subclass it's fun, and it's definitely fun to play around with, but you need to chain multiple abilities together at once, which requires a lot of charging. So expect it's not like other subclasses where it's just like, oh, my grenade's ready, so I guess I can use that now. Or, oh, my melee or super's ready, I'll use that. No, you've got to be very decisive with when you use your abilities. At least in the hunter subclass, which I've been using because hunter is the best class. Don't at me. But I think it. Not to mention, I haven't actually tried this because I haven't dared go near PvP. But apparently, it's also completely broken PvP in Destiny, the new subclass.
I've always hated Destiny PvP in general, but
yeah, same. I don't see why Destiny PvP is a thing. But for those who do, be aware, PvP is basically completely broken with the new Stasis subclass, and I don't want to call it pay to win. But at the moment, it definitely feels that way. Like, if you have the expansion, you basically have guaranteed succession over others in PvP with those abilities.
right.
Which isn't fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot from my friends who play Destiny about getting raid ready and stuff. Are you raid ready? Have you played the new raid?
Oh. No, I haven't played any raids, but I definitely hope to soon. But I think getting raid ready is definitely probably the largest grind I've ever had to do in this game. Because it's like, I think once you get to so you start at 1050 light level, like every player starts at 1050 light level as far as I'm aware. Then you get up to 1200 light level relatively quickly. Like, it took me basically the whole duration of the campaign to get me to 1200 light level. Like, they give you high powered gear really fast. The problem though is that once you hit that soft cap, the rate in which you get higher level gear is very slow and very incremental, and it very much relies you on having, it very much requires you farming rarity gear drops, and also requires you to have materials which are very hard to come by in order to infuse your low level gear with in order to get it up higher. So it's a bit of a tedious grind, but that's kind of what it is. So I can't really complain there. If you've played Destiny and other looter MMOs before, you're basically in for the same experience there. I mean, that's really how much I summarize this DLC. It's more Destiny, but less of it. And I think if that's a turn off to you, like if you're like, like the gameplay and loot experience is basically fundamentally the same, but there's just less content to do it with. And I don't think it ever, at least in my time with it so far, it's never justified that $40 price tag to me.
Right.
And
Okay, so not big on it.
I hesitate to call it bad because it's Destiny. Like, Destiny's a really good game.
Yeah.
But as far as highly anticipated expansions go, where the developers and others say, "Oh, it's a streamlining of the experience," where it only just feels like there's less of it and nothing really else has changed, then that's kind of where the problem comes in. And I think when you charge an obscene $40 price tag for it, I think you deserve some criticism there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Speaking of big multiplayer online games, did you guys hear that Red Dead Online, the online component of Red Dead Redemption 2, is going to be available as a standalone product as of December 1st?
I did hear about that. I think it's
Indeed.
like $4.99, right?
It's $4.99 until February 15th, and then it'll be $20, I think, after that.
Oh wow.
Oh, how nice of Rockstar. How
Yeah,
nice.
very nice of them. I don't know if I'd say it's worth it because I don't know if you guys have you guys played Red Dead Online?
I haven't even touched Red Dead, so. What did you say,
Funnily
Mitch?
enough, I actually bought Red Dead. I actually bought Red Dead 2 for the online mode.
Really?
Funnily enough, because I'm like, I can create my own character and do a bunch of, side missions and level up and stuff. It'll be awesome. And then I probably put about, like, the comparison, I've probably put about 20 to 25 hours into the campaign so far, and not even 5 into online.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's
Yeah.
much like the West, the American West itself. It feels very barren a lot of the time. I think, I think a lot of it, I've been thinking about it quite a bit, and I think a lot of it is down to the fact that riding a horse around just doesn't have the same appeal as driving a car fast around a city. Like, I mean, I love the whole idea of like a cowboy western going about rootin' tootin' and shooting, but I just there's some just like as a thing that you can do while you're sitting there talking to your friends or something like that, like as a thing you can just do and turn your brain off. Driving around is much more satisfying. So I think like that at its core makes GTA Online a much more fun experience, but also just the fact that it's a lot easier for them to put a steady stream of content in that game. Whereas obviously Red Dead suffers from the issue of authenticity, where you can't put bright pink unicorns in for people to ride around on,
Come on.
Yeah. I do have a unicorn in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so I mean.
Yeah, but I mean that's ancient Greece, and they sort of lean into the magic and myth in that.
But Assassin's Creed is historically accurate. What do you want about that?
Yeah, I don't.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Ubisoft has never made any mistake, especially not when it comes to history. I do want to say, when it comes to Red Dead Online, my closest experience with that is from Highlight Reel, and the show, the YouTube channel about having different wacky sort of clips from different shows. So it seems buggy as hell, but I guess obviously that's my very limited interaction with it.
It does have a fair amount of bugs, actually.
I mean, they're funny, but yeah.
Oh yeah, no, definitely funny. I spent a lot of time when I was playing it. Honestly, most of the time I was playing it with some friends. Most of what we did was going about hunting, because it's a very, I think more of the appeal from it comes from just being in the world, a lot like the single player of just being in the world and taking part in it. And so I was spending a lot of time just hunting animals and stuff and just taking my time. And I played a lot of poker, because you can play. They added that in update. You can play poker. So I spent a lot of time with friends. Like, we'd spent hours for a few nights just sitting there in the saloon playing poker, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds nice.
Yeah, the only problem is I don't think they have high stakes games, so we were just betting pennies, really. So it wasn't. That sort of sucked a little bit of the fun out of it.
Damn.
But anyway,
I was going to say the other thing that sucks the fun out of Red Dead Online is that, well, when you pair the less than ideal controls of the base game with lag and other players who can easily come in and mess your experience up, and just online bugs in general, it's not fun to play at all.
I will say though that I have a funny story about that, because I think I think other players are a lot better in Red Dead Online than they are in GTA Online. Because in GTA Online, when you come across another player, there is a 100% chance that player is going to try and kill you, usually with a jet or a flying motorcycle with rockets on it. In Red Dead Online, it feels much more 50-50. If like half the players you'll find will be friendly, which is really interesting. Except there was this one time I was playing by myself and I was in a saloon just having a drink, as you do. And this guy comes in and he stands next to me, starts having a drink, and we start emoting at each other. And then and then all of a sudden he pulls a gun. No, he doesn't pull a gun, sorry. All of a sudden he punches me. And then next thing I know, we're out the back of the saloon having a fist fight, both completely drunk at this point. And I think I killed him and then dragged his body to a shallow grave. And then I went AFK for a wee while because I was saving the gameplay clip because I thought it was a funny encounter, so I was saving it. And I went AFK to do that. And when I came back, he had me tied up and locked in a jail cell in the police office or whatever,
Yeah.
the sheriff's office. Yeah, and then I came around to try to escape, and he killed me. So fun stuff like that can happen in Red Dead Online. It seems to happen a lot more than in GTA Online.
I was gonna say, I think that kind of just speaks to the overall like insanity of Red Dead's worlds, like a different type of insanity than GTA's, where like especially like I think the best thing that the campaign did was create it created a curated experience, especially when it came to story. But then at the same time, you also had like just the overall wackiness and zaniness of the world, where if you just went off the beaten track, you could get into however many adventures and discover whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that does get old eventually. So
it does.
I think Red Dead Online is a sort of mode with a lot of potential, but it hasn't been really realized. Because I think GTA Online was a lot similar when it was starting out. Because I played that from the get go, and it was very similar in that there wasn't a lot of content, and it was built up over time. And then when the heists came out about a year after its launch, that's when it really sort of kicked off. I think everyone thought that Red Dead Online would go down a similar path, but it's been 2 years and it still hasn't. So I guess they haven't found the thing, you know.
Yeah.
Well, he's with the Fantastic Four. They got to look a little harder.
Yeah. No, I think they should. I think they should just add heists. Add bank heists.
I
add
agree.
Train robberies.
You can never go wrong with a good heist. I'm dungeon mastering like a D&D campaign right now. That's all about a heist. Like I love heists. Heists are always great. Hypothetically, of course, not in reality. I would never advocate that for, of course.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, bank heists, train robberies. It's a no-brainer. Just do it. And also, I don't know if they've already added this, but they should have standoffs because they had that in the original Red Dead.
Oh, that'd be cool
as well. You could like join a lobby with a bunch of people and you'd have a standoff.
It looks like too that it's a pretty big file too to put on your PS4 or whatever. So that's another hurdle.
123 gigabytes just for the Red Dead Online standalone component, which I guess it makes sense because you've got the whole map in there.
True.
But still,
I think for the amount of detail and amount of content it has, the size makes sense. But the size does not make sense for Call of Duty. Why does it need that much space?
It's a weird dichotomy though. A $5 for now. I know it's going to be more later, but $5 for now for like 124 gigabytes. Like, I don't know if that feels like a ripoff or a really good deal. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you measure worth in gigabytes, then it's probably a pretty good deal.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I also want to mention real quick that the PS5 officially has had the biggest launch of any PlayStation console, beating out the launch of the PlayStation 4. And I think that means that it's had the biggest console launch in history because I think that title was previously held by the PS4.
Oh, I thought it was held by the PS2.
No, I think the PS2 is one of the most sold consoles overall.
Ah, okay, overall. That's right.
In terms of in terms of the strongest launch, I think PS4 held that, which means PS5 now holds that title. But either way, incredible considering how limited it seems to have been.
Yeah, I mean, people are buying it from
Yeah.
Kohl's. People are getting desperate. Yeah, for
Yeah,
those who
it's,
sorry, for those who don't know, Kohl's is basically the equivalent of like a clothing store that sells like middle to upper tier clothing. So it's incredibly weird. And I worked there for a while. It's incredibly weird that they're selling PS5s.
Well, it's funny because our Coles is basically just it's one of the big two supermarket chains in Australia. It's Coles. It is very weird when other people talk about Coles. So I'm like, yeah, the supermarket, the off-brand clothing store. Oh.
yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, I mean, it's that's a big launch. I'm really glad I got my PS5, but also I'm really worried about the fact that I didn't get insurance for it yet. Because I mean, I would have done, but I went into the store when I went to buy it, and they said, "Oh, we don't know yet." But I had an instant the other day where I was playing Miles Morales, and I'd just taken a screenshot in the photo mode, as I do, and I was checking my phone. I left it on the screen, the photo, and it was quite a there was a lot of particle effects going on, some smoke and that sort of thing, and then all of a sudden, the PlayStation froze and started making this horrible sound um, for about 30 seconds, and then shut down completely.
Oh.
And I absolutely shat it. I was like, "Oh no, it's bricked. It's dead. It's dead." Um, Thankfully, it wasn't dead. I after a few attempts to start it up again, it did start up again. But yeah, I really should have got insurance.
Is there any way to
It was
get it
like one
after
of
the
those.
fact?
Hopefully, I don't
Okay.
know. Because I mean, Sony's customer service is notoriously terrible.
Right. I'm sure it's extra
Um,
bad right now.
Very much.
Yeah. So hopefully my PS5 doesn't brick because it's a launch unit. That's always an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of stuff getting delayed this year. Naturally, I mean, as you'd expect. And one of the latest things to get delayed, one of the latest games, is the DLC for Cuphead, the long-awaited DLC for Cuphead, which came out in 2016, I believe. That's nuts. That's nuts. It does not
Yeah.
feel like that came out 4 years ago.
Yep.
Certainly it wasn't 26. Hold on.
Was it? Might have been 2017.
I think it was 2017, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2016.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
be super surprised.
2017.
Okay.
But
My bad. But still,
no,
yeah.
but it's still been out for a few years.
Yeah, still been out for a few years. This is obviously the Cuphead, the delicious last course. People have been waiting on that DLC for a long time. And it's been delayed until 2021. Which makes sense. I wouldn't honestly at this point. We haven't heard anything about it really, so I wouldn't have expected it to come out this year. So
Yeah.
not a big surprise. But yeah, were you guys looking forward to that? Have you played Cuphead?
No, I haven't played Cuphead.
You haven't played Cuphead?
I played the first level.
What are you
of Cuphead.
doing, man?
I played like
And
the
then
first
I
level or two as
realized,
well.
Yeah.
I'm on the same boat with Mitch. I never really got into it. I played it with like one of my friends' kids had it, and so I played Cuphead with them for a while, and it was hard as heck. I think I talked about this a couple when we did game of the generation. But yeah, so I wasn't really. It doesn't really bother me. I never got into it.
No, I love it. It's fantastic. I really hope I can beat it one day. It's surprisingly long. There's a lot of content there. But again, that might be the Dark Souls effect of it being padded out
Yeah,
because of the difficulty.
just like Battletoads.
Just like Battletoads. But yeah, I have more news this week. The last news item of the week, I should say, because it's been a very slow news week. Unfortunately so. But Square Enix is going to allow employees to work from home permanently starting on December 1st, which is pretty big for the industry because I think people have wanted development studios to adopt this policy for a long time because a lot of game developers have to travel all over for job opportunities and sort of pack up and move their whole lives around. for it, and the ability to work remotely, which I think this year has probably proved, if anything, that that is possible and realistic.
Yeah.
So the ability to work remotely could be great for those people. So this seems like a good move to give people the option to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and it also makes, because I know a lot. There's always that, I guess you could say, stigma with game development and getting big in the games industry. It's like where you have to be in a certain location, like say in LA or wherever. Like you have to be in the heart of games development in order to
Yeah.
actually get a decent job. Whereas I think, at least here, you don't have to necessarily root your entire life and move to the big city. You can literally have the opportunity to get decently big in the games media and games industry, and still work from home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's great. Like, just having, like, I personally prefer working in the same place as the other people I'm working with. But it is nice to give people that option because, especially with like, one thing I saw Jason Schreier, who obviously reports on a lot of this kind of stuff, mention on Twitter is that like, obviously crunch is still going to be a thing, but it'll probably be a lot easier for people to crunch when they can cook their own dinner and put their kids to bed rather than having to stay at the office and sleep there and that sort of thing and not see
Yeah.
their families.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think this is awesome. I think there are not many upsides from this pandemic, but I think this is one of the few things that we can look at and see that the pandemic has somewhat normalized. I mean, unfortunately, I think it should have been normalized way earlier, but giving this option to some people is really important. Some people don't have the ability to move all over or to go to the office every day. They have to take care of their kids or whatever the case may be. Everybody has different life situations. So I think this is really great. And I hope Square Enix, because it is such a big player in the industry, I hope it'll influence other people to make that decision too.
yeah, for sure. Speaking of the rest of the industry, the Keeleys are coming up on December 10th. Obviously, last week we had Rob Hudak on the show, and we talked about the nominees for the Game Awards, which were just announced.
The Last of Us Part 2.
The Last of Us Part 2,
And
obviously.
nothing else. No,
Sorry,
that's
I should have said
Nothing else.
I should have said the nominee for the Game Awards. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about, because obviously we're in the run up to the Game Awards, the Keeleys, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about award shows in general in the games industry, and what you guys like about them, what you don't like about them. So, what do you? Obviously, a big topic around the Keeleys in particular. They do a lot of game reveals, and obviously it's an award. You don't have like new movie trailers at the Oscars, you know. So obviously, it's video games. It's different, but for me personally, I've always been a fan of the awards. And I've thought the point of this show and shows like it was to honor the the creators of our favorite games. And so I've always thought that the award should be the most important part, and I would be perfectly happy if the awards were the only thing there, or they took at least most of the center stage. Obviously, that's not the wider opinion. Most people tune in for the reveals because everyone likes a reveal, right? But what do you guys think? What do you prefer? What do you think they should focus on?
I think I think from a personal point of view, like last year's Keeleys was the first I actually watched live, so I getting to experience all of those reveals in real time, like especially like the reveal to Series X, as like underwhelming as it looked. Last year's Keeley was the first I actually got to experience live with everyone else, so I got to experience all the reveals, such as the Series X, which was pretty crazy to experience in real time. I got to experience all of that in real time with everyone else. So having that mix of both awards and reveals, I think, was something really special. And I think there's a lot of like filler categories. I think with certain Game Award shows, like, and not to mention they sort of they have to substitute certain awards for the pre-show. So you've got like I forget if it was last year, but I remember one year they had like a really big award, like best soundtrack, relegated to the pre-show.
Yeah, I was a bit miffed about that.
Yeah, like it. I think when they at least get the awards right, when they have the nominees are, and you have the compilation of all the clips and stuff. That's really special. And I mean, personally, I do enjoy the reveals more, but I also recognize the importance and I guess you could say not credibility, but like the prestige that comes from certain developers getting those accolades. Like especially when it comes to indie titles. Like I think being an indie studio and actually getting to go up on stage at the Keeleys is probably one of the best moments of the developers' lives, I'd be guessing.
Yeah, I don't. So I haven't watched the Keeleys in a long time. I'm not sure that I ever actually did. Award shows have never really appealed to me. I've seen clips online. I'm aware of the event. I know kind of how it goes. I saw some of the reveals from last year. I saw some clips and stuff. I know Smash won. Blah blah blah. So I keep my
Hydrobot.
What's that?
Hydrobot.
Absolutely, I know Hydrobot. Sure.
Everyone knows Hydrobot.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Worldwide phenomenon. But yeah, I think the reveals are important just to tease people into watching. But I do agree with you, James. I think the awards really should take front and center. If I wanted a reveal, I just watch E3. I know E3 is kind of dying, but like that's normally what I do anyway. Or I just watch the company like reveal it in their own event or something, which is becoming popular. I don't really go to the Game Awards for reveals, but I understand why they're doing it. They want to draw people in. You're not just going to listen if people are doing heartfelt speeches, thanking their moms, thanking God, whatever. You've heard it a million times before, right? So I get it that I don't think that's enough to bring people in. I do think that some of the media stuff and like trying to really appeal to a broader audience is kind of iffy. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it comes off as like that weird lonely guy in high school who's like really trying to be popular and like trying to like get in with the latest fads by like swearing that they really like, I don't know, the latest TV shows or something
like
that.
Anime.
Yeah.
I like anime. Don't
Sure.
you guys?
Yeah. Pretty much that. And so it can get weird and awkward and for some people that's the fun, but for me, I have huge amounts of secondhand embarrassment, so I tend not to watch live events as a general rule.
I love that stuff. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Last year's Keeley's was pretty good. Like I think
they have been getting better.
Really
like
good.
That's the thing. They seem to get better every year, which is why I'm excited for what they do this year.
Yeah.
I like that sort of interesting stuff that they do. Like I like the musical performances because I think if you watched it back in like 2016 or 2015, they had like performances from like rap artists and just random bands that decided to sign up, and it was a bit like, all right, but what does it have to do with video games?
Yeah.
It was a bit. It felt.
Yeah,
out of
last
place,
year
it felt
they
weird.
had Churches, who was part of Death Stranding's soundtrack. I love Churches, so that was cool.
That's the thing. I don't like Churches.
Yeah, well, it's okay to be wrong.
But I will say that it was nice that that performance was themed around a game.
Yeah.
And like they seem to be getting better at that. Like they've got. Yeah, exactly. So they're getting better at that, about making the musical performances more about games. And I like the other stuff that they do, like getting, like last year, getting the three heads of Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo up on stage at the same time.
That was pretty big.
Like, tell me one other industry where people would get so hyped about three men in suits going up on stage together.
Men in Black.
Okay.
The film series.
But, okay, sure. But I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know.
That was a really exciting moment for some weird reason that our industry likes that kind of thing, and I like that kind of weird stuff that they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, what do you guys think about the performances in general. About like, what do you guys think about the musical performances and that kind of thing?
I mean, again, this
I
is
think
just this is bread and circus stuff. This is just to get people drawn in, I think, and to keep their eyes glued to the TV. I don't know how
Yeah.
well it works, but that's the intent. I think as long as it's actually related to video games, I think it's great. And I don't
I think
see
it's
the
like
huge deal.
I think the orchestra stuff in particular, where
Yeah.
they're playing songs from
Oh,
where
yeah,
they're
that
playing
was
songs from the
amazing.
nominees, right?
Yes,
Especially for like Game of the Year. I think that in particular is another way of paying tribute to the games that
agreed.
came out that year.
Yep.
So I think that is relevant to it being an award show.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, in general, I like that they're sort of centered. I like when they're centered around the games.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the performances in the past few years have been like really hit and miss. Like you'd have churches performing, and that was really good. And then you'd have other ones like I think it was like when they were singing Devil Trigger from Devil May Cry 5.
Did they do that? I don't remember that.
Yeah, they sung Devil Trigger from DMC 5 at, I think it was at 2018 Game Awards, and it was more a production sort of based problem, but the EQing and the audio balancing was terrible
Oh,
for that song.
that's sad. That's such a good song too.
I know, and it was terrible because the instruments were blaring super loud, and then the vocals were super quiet. And
No,
it was not good.
That's probably why I don't remember it.
Yeah,
I probably blocked it out. But no, remember in 2018 when they were doing the nominees, the songs for the nominees, and they did like Red Dead 2 and stuff.
Yeah,
how good that
Spider-Man
was.
and everything. That was I'm getting chills just thinking about it now. But I think that's when the performances are at their best.
Yeah, definitely.
I also think it's great.
The orchestra.
Yeah, I also think it's great that when they have some people actually from the game industry and not like random celebrities come up, and that famous clip of the voice actor of Kratos and the voice actor of Atreus. Sorry, Atreus is a band. And he's like, "Read the thing, boy," and the crowd goes wild. I mean, it's cheesy, but I appreciate it.
Well,
yeah,
I think in that case, like when you have oh my god, I'm forgetting
Christopher Judge.
But Christopher Judge and Sonny, I forget his last name, but the actor who played Atreus. When you have like actors from video games who come in, including Roger Clark and all that, I think that's when it's at its best because they're actually in the industry. But when you have people like Vin Diesel,
that was the thing. Like
Rodriguez, like
it's tricky, right? Because Vin Diesel has had his own games, and also he is a big gamer, so it does make at least a degree of sense.
I mean, yeah, he has like he did. He was in Wheelman, the PS3 video game that everyone loved.
Absolutely,
big part of my childhood. But that was so weird having like Vin Diesel come up, because I remember being so annoyed about that, because in previous years, like he wasn't just a guest, like he wasn't just a guest personality to come and announce a nominee, like he was announcing Game of the Year, which is
that's right.
In previous years, I think they would have like the previous year's winner come and announce it. Like they had Jeff Kaplan the year after Overwatch came out to come and announce it. But then, why get Vin Diesel?
Yeah, that is weird. For that specific spot, that doesn't make any sense.
Not to mention the fact, like, I don't want to discredit the fact that Vin Diesel is a gamer. Like, I'm not trying to gatekeep in that sense, but it's like, when you have him come in and announce Game of the Year, which is it is the most prestigious award from that night. Plus, when you have him announce Game of the Year, but also then debut the trailer for Fast and Furious Crossroads, that absolute gem that everyone remembers from this year.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It feels.
I think
we made a video on that, didn't we? Yeah, definitely.
I actually think.
I wish we did.
I actually think Crossroads is running alongside The Last of Us Part 2 for Game of the Year this year.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, we can all agree. The story was so beautiful.
I've never
and
seen a revenge driven, if you will, tale handled so excellently.
Right. Fair enough. But back to the music real quick though. I just realized this year, like that performance that they do, I like that the orchestra has become a yearly thing that they do that's stuck. And I just realized that this year it's going to be ridiculous when they do the nominees for Game of the Year and they do
Yeah.
the soundtracks for those.
Oh no!
Because you're going to have like
Oh,
you're going to have Doom Eternal, your Final Fantasy VII remake,
Oh.
Last of Us Part 2.
Oh,
dude, stop.
gonna break my heart.
I can only take.
I-
I can only take so
I'm
much.
with Mitch. We gotta cancel the event we were gonna do for the Game Awards. I can't handle it. I'm tapping out.
Oh,
We need for our Game of the Year thing. We need to outdo the Keeleys. We need to get the original. We need to get Mick Gordon
That's
to
right.
come and do.
We need to get. Hey, you know what?
mean,
he's
he's
not
Australian,
busy.
right?
He's not busy. He's not with them anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's got an open
Well, no,
schedule.
That's right.
yeah, he's Australian. He's Australian, right? I can just.
Oh, so
hop on
you
my
must know him.
kangaroo,
Yeah.
right?
See?
Yeah, no,
Wow, we've
I
got
can
it in
just-
with Mick Gordon. I knew
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I can just hop on my kangaroo and jump on over the
That got me good.
It's busy.
Fantastic.
That's just basic Australian networking. Everybody jumps on their kangaroo over to each other's houses.
yeah.
We send messages over with boomerangs and stuff.
That's right.
They flick back around with messages. It's easy. Oh,
I am curious though. So the way I believe the way the Keeleys work for right, they have a bunch of they have a panel of video game outlets, YouTube channels and websites and that sort of thing, who all submit ballots for and vote on. I'm not sure who decides the nominees. I think they're the ones
it'd
that
be
decide
Keeley.
the nominees.
No,
No,
I was gonna say, I think-
Keeley has nothing to do with the voting.
no, but like Keeley is like assembles the voting board. I mean,
Oh right, sure, yeah. Yeah, so he just assembles a bunch of people who he knows really like Hideo Kojima games.
That's right.
But
rigged.
no, like
Kojima, you're in.
in all seriousness, yeah, he just assembles Hideo Kojima. That's the board. And the winner is Death Stranding for the second year running. No, in all seriousness though, I think the board is video game outlets, and they all vote on the nominees. And then they make up 90% of the final vote of the winners, and 10% is made up by the audience votes, which I think is a really good way of doing it because it makes the audience vote so insignificant enough that it's not a popularity contest, and also not so insignificant like people still feel like they have some influence on it. People still feel like there's a point to voting. So I really like that balance that they've got. What do you guys think it should be fan voted or what?
I think honestly, I think they should do it how we did it. No, so well, kind of like how we did, where it's like have the audience and official vote be two separate things. You know, like in the sense that where you have basically it's like okay, the critic's choice is this, the audience choice is like, or maybe like a little pop up that says the audience choice was this. Like I think. Because that way, if they had them separate, at least that way they could, you know, like you won't have people on either side be like, oh, this is bullshit. That's not the audience choice. You know, like kind of like how Rotten Tomatoes does it. You have the critics rating and you have the audience rating.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And then when The Last of Us 2 won the audience game of the year, we could point to it and say,
Yeah,
oh, so
exactly.
people do actually like it.
See,
I mean, and we've already
yeah.
seen that through the Golden Joystick Awards. Although, and I yeah, because they won the audience vote. I think Hades won the critics vote, but I can't remember.
it'd be insane
That's-
if Hades won Game of the Year though. That would be insane.
Well, yeah, for Golden Joystick
think.
they did. I
But,
don't
like,
think they are
good-
for the
good
Game
insane,
Awards.
good
Yeah,
insane, but-
yeah.
I do, yeah. Like I would be. The thing is, I think you're right. Hades won Game of the Year. Hades won the Critics' Choice for the Golden Joysticks.
Yes.
Which makes me think that maybe because the critics are the main decider of the Game Awards winners. So that makes me think like maybe Hades does have a chance to win Game of the Year.
It definitely has
But
a
the
chance.
Keighley's,
Yeah.
but I don't want it to win. I know we've already done we did the
Yeah.
nominees last week, but like it would be huge for Hades. It would be huge for an indie game to beat out all the big boys and win Game of the Year. But at the same time, I really want The Last of Us to win
Yeah,
because I love
that's
that
how
game.
I feel. I'm in a Discord avatar bet with a couple of friends about it, so I don't even know. I'm hoping Last of Us 2 wins, but I definitely won't be upset if Hades wins. Definitely be well deserved. I do want to say for the audience vote, as a general rule, I mean, I like what Mitch said. I was going to actually suggest pushing it up to 25%, but I don't know if that's too much. Again, I'm pretty outside the Game Awards, so I don't really know what 10% means in this context. Like you're saying it like it's a big thing. To me, that sounds like a small number, but maybe it's not. But
Well, I say it's big. I don't say it's not a big number. It's
Sure.
just big enough that it doesn't feel insignificant.
Sure. Yeah, I got that. I mean, to me, that kind of balance sounds more like a 25% than a 10%. But I don't know. I don't mind 10%. I think the way Mitch has it would be good too. That if I wouldn't mind a multi-pronged approach where you have it still be 10 or 25%, and then even if their choice doesn't win, you still put it up separately and say, well, here's what the audience voted, and here's what, if it differs widely. So I think that'd be a cool idea.
I think that would probably, because at least that way, because I think definitely with this year, you're going to see a lot of toxicity more than any other year, I'd say, especially like with a game as contentious as The Last of Us Part 2. Because if it wins more than like one category, people are gonna like lose their shit.
There'll be riots in the streets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're gonna riot in the streets, remember to wear your masks. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, actually, okay, I'm kind of diverging from my main point here, but that actually brings up another point. I'm really interested to see how they do this with COVID. Because
that is,
I think one of the big things about the game was last year is that the audience was packed, and like everyone was cheering, and like it felt like a big event, like a more prestigious, formal version of E3.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can't do that, obviously, without Keighley getting sued to oblivion for breaking COVID safety laws.
Yeah.
So
how are you gonna have Hydrobot roam the crowds?
That's right.
If there's no crowd?
Well, what if the entire crowd in the auditorium is just Hydrobot, like just hundreds of Hydrobots in each seat,
just empty shells.
Yeah.
That's probably what he's done. Yeah, I mean, that's actually like, how are they going to handle the winners? Are they going to tell the winners in advance, or is he just going to have them all sat in a Zoom call and you'll pull up whoever ends up winning?
Yeah, I didn't even think about the COVID thing and how that's going to affect the Game Awards. I don't know. Now I'm getting anxiety.
Because it's interesting as well, because they're doing it from 3 different locations. And like Keighley keeps saying that there's going to be the biggest one ever, and I think it seems like they're leaning into the possibilities of doing it virtually, of doing it.
Yeah, I would prefer that, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, I don't think I watched the Gamescom One Night Live thing, but I think at least, like from the quick behind the scenes looks I got at Gamescom One Night Live, at least the production side of it looked really fantastic, especially like the peak of COVID at the time.
Yeah, like they had like a big, they had a big studio with like screens. It was really quite interesting. It seems like they're doing a similar thing here as well, based on the images that Keighley showed on Twitter. Yeah,
I hope so. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah. Sorry, you go.
On you go.
I was going to say, if like at minimum they have the same set size that they do for Game Awards as they do for Gamescom One Night Live, then I'd say it'd still be really damn good.
Yeah.
Like with the panels and whatnot. Yeah.
The only obviously the only question being, like I said, how are they going to handle the nominees and the winners, and the award, the acceptance species and that sort of thing. because I imagine they probably don't want to reveal. They probably don't want to tell the winners that they've won in advance, because that might
Yeah.
deflate some of the excitement or risk a leak.
Yeah. Oh
So
man, imagine if the game of the year leaked. Imagine how.
That would-
just imagine that.
that would deflate the whole event, and I think Jeff
Yeah.
Keighley's soul.
I think so. we just see him like a couple of weeks after the Game Awards happens, and it's just like he hasn't shaved in weeks. He hasn't cut his hair. He's
Just an absolute mess of a man.
dead
That's right.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Anyway. Yeah. It should be good anyway. I think I trust them to do a good job. It seems like they've got it under control.
They've had
Yeah.
plenty of time. I mean, to be fair, they've had plenty of time to adapt in these COVID circumstances. I mean, this started around like April or March, so they've had at least like 6 months or so to
Yeah. I mean,
readjust the
it's gone up
Keeleys.
it's gone up and down, of course, but yeah, I'd say I trust in Keeley, so I believe he will give us the best Keeleys possible.
Yes,
But,
absolutely.
But in all seriousness, no. But yeah, I think I don't see Keeley. To me, looks like a perfectionist, like not in a bad way either. Like he looks like someone who wants this to be good just as much, if not more, than everyone else.
Yeah, he goes all
So,
out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't expect it. I don't expect him to half-ass it this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, I think hopefully we're going to be streaming that.
We do have plans.
I
No,
hope so,
no concrete plans yet, but we'll see. So yeah, I think that's all the time we have, folks. So in case you missed it, we put up Dory's review of Spider-Man Miles Morales this week, along with our spoiler cast. Those both went up this week. Did we put anything else up this week? I think it was just those two.
Yep. Just those two things.
Just those two things since the last podcast. So check those out if you haven't already. Dory's review in particular is very good. So have a watch.
It's been hey, look, I don't want to brag, but everyone who's seen it says it's really good. I think it's my best work, so you should go check it out if you haven't already.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And upcoming, we have a review of Ghost Runner and a review of Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory.
Who could be reviewing that?
As well.
Who could? I think Mitch, you're on that one, right?
That's right. I think that's
Yeah,
Mitch.
no, absolutely. But one thing I am also working on, or at least hoping to work on, is something on the difficulty in video games, because Knack has been kicking my ass the past couple of days.
Yeah.
And
It's a shame. It's a shame
Destiny 2.
it's not back. Where's Knack 3?
I know.
Hopefully Knack 3 will get into the Keeleys.
I was gonna say that would be the big announcement.
That'd be the big reveal at the
They'd
end.
Yeah, exactly. They get Mark Cerny out to announce the Game of the Year, and then he's like, "Wait, but before you go, Knack 3."
He just does the Peggle 2 thing with the guy E3, where he's like Knack 3, and then it's just dead silence from the audience.
Oh god,
That'd
the
be
secondhand
fun.
embarrassment is
At least
killing me.
At least in this case, I mean, there's a reason for no audience involvement. But
Hey man, don't hate on Knack. Knack is good shit.
no, just
Knack-
COVID.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I actually played Knack. I played some Knack just before going to pick up my PS5, and like I was surprised how difficult. Like that is the Dark Souls. I think I said that is the Dark Souls of
Yeah.
3D platformers.
All right,
It's a
and
hard
with that,
game.
we're out of time.
Yeah.
So that's what we have coming next. This next week, we're all talking about Knack. So
Great.
with that said, we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Wow.
That was great.
Yeah.